Hello there, welcome to lesson number 5 in our series on creating earrings using FluidDesigner for 3D printing. Today's lesson we're going to show you how you can add some Nurbs circles to the workspace to create an earring. So if you start off FluidDesigner and go to Learning Projects and Jewellery Projects Earrings, we're on lesson number 5. So if you drag and drop 05 onto the workspace, this gives you an idea of the object that you're going to create in today's lesson. I'm just going to switch on screencast keys, so any key presses I make should be displayed here. And just remind you that the instructions are in the help panel here. Now I'm only going to briefly go through some of the instructions in the help panel here. I'm going to do it a slightly different way. But first of all, we're going to start off with add curve and Nurbs circle. So add curve and a Nurbs circle, and we want to set X and Y to 10 millimeters. So X 10 millimeters, Y 10 millimeters, and then we want to set the location as X to be minus 10. So this is the location here, minus 10 millimeters, and Y to be 10 millimeters. So in other words, we've created a Nurbs circle here. That's 10,000 millimeters. That's wrong. I need 10 millimeters. I must have typed M instead of millimeters. You need two M's. This circle here, this Nurbs circle, is going to be transformed into the letter H. So the next thing to do is to add another Nurbs circle, and again we want it to be 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters, and if we look at the location of this one, its X is 10, Y is 10, so its location, whoops, trying to click in there, 10 millimeters and 10 millimeters. So in other words, this Nurbs circle is going to be this O letter in Hope. Now it'll take me a while to actually do all 5 of these, but in essence that, well, plus the one on the outside. But that's the basis of it. You keep adding Nurbs circles and locating them, sizing them, and then what you do is you join them all together. Now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just delete those, and I'm going to show you an alternative way of actually doing this. We do have Nurbs circles already built into FluidDesigner for you, and we've got this one here, 05 Nurbs circle, in the templates folder. And what we can do is we could just drag and drop that object onto the workspace, but it'll delete Hope for me, so I won't be able to see quite what I'm doing. An alternative way of doing it is I could go to File and Append, and if I just go up through the menu system and go to 3D Templates Nurbs Circles and go to the one with 5 Nurbs Circles and then select the folder that says Object, and if I append that object into my workspace, you can see what I've done is I've made a copy of this object here in the workspace. And that's what I was aiming to do. So rather than waste my time during this video creating all 6 circles, because there's one on the outside, I've just appended it. Okay. Now an important thing to note is that once you've created all those circles and you've joined them together, you do need to set the dimension to 2D. The default for Nurbs circles is 3D. We need to do this as 2D to create this pendant. So now what do we want to do? Well, we want to transform the shape of this object into the pendant that we've got at the bottom. So clearly that, well, first of all, yeah, we've got to go into edit mode, and clearly this letter O is okay. That's not too bad. We don't need to change that, but we could start off by changing the hole at the very top here. So what we need to do is to scroll our way in, and we need to reposition control points here to get a hole shape that we're happy with. So what you do is you just drag the control points until you get a suitable shaped hole. Now I'm not going to mirror the hole that's at the bottom exactly in this case. I'm just going to show you quickly how you can modify that hole. So I've just made it a little bit smaller. It's not the plus sign that we've got at the bottom, okay, but we could have made it a plus sign. Now I want to do the H, and here I'll be a little bit more careful. Now what I really need to do is to be able to change the number of control points that I've got here. I haven't got enough control points at the moment to be able to create a H, so I need to multiply the number of control points. So first of all, if I select the top right hand corner control point, now I'm holding down the shift key on my keyboard so I can select all these control points at the same time. So I'm just clicking through all 9 control points around that particular Nurbs circle, and what I want to do is to duplicate the number of control points, and I can do that by clicking the right mouse button and using the command subdivide. And as you can see, that's changed the shape, and if I just zoom in, you'll see that there are now some extra control points added. And if I just do that again and do subdivide, I'll get even more control points. So that will allow me to create this H shape here. I clearly do need a fair number of control points. Now the other thing that I want to do is I want to change the handle type. And the handle type that I want is a free handle type. I want to be able to move these control points completely freely. In the past you may have done lessons where you've done vector format, which is a very straight edge, or automatic, which is rounded. I want to choose free for this one. And I'm trying to get a letter H now. So if I press A on the keyboard, that will deselect all of those control points. And what I want to do now is to move some of these control points and try and recreate the letter H. Now I could just drag them up like that. Until I get the H shape that I want. Okay, so I'll just drag that one up. Okay, and then I can do the same at the top. Drag them down. I can drag a few more down. And as you can see, I'm forming a H shape now. Now maybe I've gone a little bit too far there. That's not too bad. Okay, now clearly you can play around and until you get the shape that you want, but that'll do for the moment. So we've got H and O. I'll just show you how we can do one more. So if we look at the P one now, so if we click on P, we need to zoom in again, and we need to click on all the control points, select all the control points around the object. So I'll select the one in the top right hand corner first of all, hold down the shift key again, and then highlight the other control points. So they're all highlighted now, and I need to duplicate these control points, so it's right mouse button and click on subdivide, and again right mouse button and click on subdivide. And we want the letter P here for hope. So I'll just zoom back in again, and oh yeah, we didn't change these to the handle type to free. We want to be able to freely move these. We don't want a very tight shape to our object today. So we want to try and create a letter P here. So what are we going to do? Well, let's see. We can start off there, for example, and we can move that one up. Okay. We can also, if I press the G key on the keyboard, I can just grab this control point and move it freely, rather than just move it vertically or horizontally. If I click on a control point and press G on the keyboard, G is for grab in FluidDesigner, I can move that freely rather than just in the X and Y direction. So G, move up that control point. Now looking at what we've got down here, I've probably got a few too many control points down here, so we can always delete a few of them. So if I highlight that control point and press X on the keyboard, I can delete that vertices. Highlight a control point and delete it. So if you find you've got a little bit too many, you can just delete a few. and then I can select that control point there and G on the keyboard and move it around, G on the keyboard and move it around, G on the keyboard and I can move it down, G on the keyboard, I can move it down. Now as you can see, it's not that easy to manipulate these. I'm going to delete that one there and delete that one, and then I'm going to select the one in the corner and G and move it in. Okay, now as you can see, I'm not great at doing this, but we've now got a rough P shape. Now you can spend a lot more time doing that and being much more accurate than I've been, but I've just shown you some basic principles there of using these Nurbs circle control points. Now I'm not going to do the E as well, okay, just going to take too long, but the principles are the same. So I'm going to tab out of that now, tab out of edit mode, and the next thing that we want to do is, with this object highlighted, we need to give it some thickness. As you can see, the finished product has got to have some sort of depth to it. This at the moment is infinitesimally thin, we can't print it, and the way we add thickness is in the properties panel with the curve data selected, curve data information selected. We need to click on Extrude, and the thing to note when we extrude, if I extrude it 3 millimeters for example, the total thickness of this object is now 6 millimeters. It's 3 millimeters above the grid and 3 millimeters extruded below the grid. So if I go back to curve data information, I've set extrude at 3, but that's 3 millimeters above the grid, 3 millimeters below, so that's a total extrude of 6 millimeters. Bevel, the next thing I want to do, the final thing I want to do, is to create a little bit of a beveled edge. You can see that this edge is not sharp, it's beveled off for all of the holes around the object, and also we want the outside to be beveled. So if I click on this bevel depth here, you can see that creates a pretty hefty bevel on the object. Okay, you might want that much, you might want 1 millimeter. I tend to find that if the extrude value is 3, if you enter 0.3 millimeters for the bevel, I tend to find that that's not too bad. But obviously, you know, you can change it to suit yourself. So we've added a bevel to the object so that it's not got a sharp edge. So there's our object now. Oh, I didn't change the outside to this square format, but clearly the way to do that is the same the way that we've manipulated the letters on the inside. We can manipulate the control points on the outside of the object. So I'm not going to do that in this lesson because it's just repeating pretty much what I did there. So we've created an extrude, we've given it some thickness, we've created a bevel. What we need to do now is to apply this and confirm this extrude value, and we do that in FluidDesigner by going to Tools, Object Tools, and converting it to a mesh. Okay, so it's, you know, obviously it doesn't look quite like the finished object here. You can spend a lot more time doing it. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that object, and here's the one we've done in today's lesson, so we need to save it. So if we go to File and Save As, go up through the menu system, Jewellery Projects, Earrings, and it's 05 Nurbs Circle Earrings, and we save that as a Blender file. Now we can't print Blender files, and we always need to check these, particularly when we're creating objects with Nurbs Circles. So what we need to do is to export this, and we like to export it as a wavefront object. I'm going to export it to the desktop as 05 Nurbs Circle Earrings object file. And then we need to run it through Netfab Basic. Now I'm pretty sure we're going to have some problems here, so if we go to Project and Open, and go to the desktop and open 05 Nurbs Circle Earrings, the object file, you'll see we get this warning red triangle, and I'm pretty sure the problems are going to be around these edges. So if we go to Extras and Repair the Part, you'll see that we've got all these yellow lines, and if I just move Netfab across and click the update button, you'll see there's a lot of issues here. There's 8,640 border edge problems, and there's 48 holes. But if we run automatic repair and execute it and click update, you'll see all those problems have gone away. NetFab has actually repaired all of the border edge problems, fixed it all for us, and we've still got our HOP. I didn't do the E, but it would be there. And we've still got our hole at the top there. So what we need to do is apply the repair and remove the old part. And you'll see the warning red triangle's gone. There is a line here, but I wouldn't worry about that. It's just the graphics display, I think. It's not an error. So you just go to Part, export the part as a wavefront object, export it to the desktop, and that is your repaired Nurbs Circle earring, and that is the file that you would print. Okay, thank you. That's the end of today's lesson.